Communication is such an important part of day-to-day interactions, and your communication style says so much more about you than what you realise. We communicate verbally, and obviously for people that are hearing impaired, they use their hands to communicate, but unless you understand how to read the cues, you wouldn't necessarily know how to communicate with that person. My name's Luanne Ward. I am a dating and relationship expert for over 25 years. One of our biggest challenges in life is the way that we communicate and what's actually being said, because once something's been said, it can't be unsaid. But interestingly, 80% of the way that we communicate is through non-verbal. It is through our body language. It's really important that we understand and we're more aware of what our body is actually saying to the other person. We know what words come out of our mouth, and we know that when we're angry, there's certain things our bodies do that react in a different way. When we're scared, our bodies act in a different way. So I want to share with you today and break down some body language myths that are actually misconceptions. And these are really important things to consider when you're dealing and interacting with people, whether that's on a date or whether it's in a business meeting or whatever it is. There's many misconceptions around body language, and today I'd like to get rid of some of the myths, okay? Because if we don't learn to communicate better and we don't have the information and the knowledge, we're going to get stuck in just relying on verbal communications. And we know that we've been with somebody who just thought, oh, I just don't like their body language. But what is their body actually saying about them? It's really important when you're meeting people for the first time, and dating, you are often meeting the person for the first time, and you're reading their cues, and sometimes you're reading it wrong. So I want to squash 5 body language myths, and over the next few weeks I'm going to show you how to correctly read clusters of body language. So myth number 1, someone that's crossing their arms is a negative gesture. So arm crossing being negative. This is not correct. Somebody can cross their arms and it might not necessarily be a negative, closed off, bored gesture. If they're crossing their arms and they're clenching their fingers, they're clearly uncomfortable, and you can see that the knuckles are turning white. Yeah, they're uncomfortable. But often we cross our arms because it just feels nice. We might be cold, but it's not a closed off gesture. Number 2, yawning isn't necessarily a sign of boredom or someone being tired. So when someone yawns, they are cooling their brain down. They're under stress, and what happens is the brain tries to cool itself down by getting more oxygen into the bloodstream. So it's a pacifying behaviour, and people do this when they're under some kind of stress. So yawning, don't assume someone's tired or bored. Number 3, playing with the hair. I hear a lot of body language dating experts say, oh, she's playing with the hair, she's into you. Not necessarily, because people can play with their hair for many different reasons, and particularly girls. Sometimes if I'm playing with my hair, I'm in deep thought, I'm thinking about something and I'm trying to remember something. It's just a little habitual thing that I do. Other times I do it when I'm thinking, I'm trying to remember something and I'm in deep concentration, I might do it. But if I'm flirting with somebody, the way that I'd play with my hair would be quite different. So don't assume that just because someone's playing with their hair that they're into you, because it's not necessarily true. Number 4, somebody that touches their face doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying. I've heard many times that people have said, oh yeah, you know, she touched her nose, or he touched his nose, he's lying, he's trying to make a sale, or he's telling me a story and he's touching his nose. That could just mean that they have an itchy nose. So the touching of the face, just by reading the one cue, it's not enough to make an assumption. In actual fact, I'm reading a book recently by Joe Navarro, who is an ex-FBI counterintelligence agent, and he brought up some incredibly great science around the reading of non-verbals. And he says which I just love this line, people can have a poker face, but they can't have a poker body. So it's quite difficult to read what's going on in someone's face, but their body will tell you a whole lot more. So you have to look for clusters. So don't assume the face touching is lying. Number 5, the handshake should be firm and strong. Now, obviously we know it shouldn't be too firm, but it should definitely be firm. So how many of you heard that? This is a myth. The handshake is one of the most important parts of communication. It's the first time you're going to touch somebody. It's impossible to shake your own hand, so it is something that is exchanged between 2 people, not by one person. So we have to be very mindful about how we shake someone's hand. We live in a multicultural society, and in different cultures, the handshake means different things. Some people, will just sort of drape their hand, and that doesn't mean to say that they're a weak person, and them being judged that way is a very, very limited way to judge somebody. Shaking someone's hand, you should follow their cues. So don't be expecting that the dominating and the controlling and someone that's got a strength of character is going to shake your hand a certain way. And if you do shake someone's hand and it didn't feel right, ask them to do it again, because it is such an important part of interactions. It could be the first and last time you'll ever touch that person, and we can't underestimate the power of touch. So 5 body language myths just summed up there, without extra clusters and of behaviour to link with them. You can't make those assumptions. Please don't underestimate the importance of non-verbal communications and what your body is saying about you, and how to be aware of what you are projecting through your non-verbals. Tune in next week and I will show you how to make certain links so you can make assessments about when someone's comfortable, uncomfortable, when they're stressed, what topics of conversation is making them uncomfortable or stressed. And we'll do this over the next 4 or 5 weeks. So for more information on the non-verbal communications, you can jump onto my website, luannward.com, or drop your comments below, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, or anything that has come up for you that you haven't been able to quite read, or if you do have something to share with us, we would love to hear it. So drop your comments below, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.